Tonight, the mother of a 14-year-old shooting victim speaks with Fox 5. Her son and a 12-year-old girl were both shot in the Centennial Hills neighborhood near Durango and Elkhorn. Two suspects have been arrested for the shooting. 17-year-old Hakeem Colette is being charged as an adult, and an unnamed 15-year-old. They're both facing 2 charges of attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder, among others. Fox 5's Mike Allen spoke with the 14-year-old victim's mother tonight. He joins us now to share what she said. Mike?
Yeah, John, I'm across the street from Centennial Hills Hospital, which is where the 2 teenagers were rushed following the incident. And in the weeks following, I learned that the mother's life has been turned completely upside down.
It's because they say he's okay. It doesn't mean any complications can come from whatever happened with the wounds. So no, I'm still dealing with the same day when it happened every day.
Tequila Peebles trying to figure out what in the world to do after her 14-year-old son was shot 5 times down the street from his home in Centennial Hills by someone she says was a complete stranger. Peebles has been given leave from work through July due to circumstances, but without pay.
Mentally it's draining me because I need to figure out how I'm going to take care of and us not lose everything that I've worked so hard for something that had nothing to do with us.
Even though Peebles feels extremely lucky not to have lost her son earlier this month.
I just think someone was there as an angel, definitely looking and holding him and said, it wasn't your time.
Her son still needs to recover physically and mentally.
Everybody that you look at now can become that person. But how can I tell a person that was shot 5 times at 14 not to look at everybody the same way?
I asked Peebles about the teenage suspects in her son's shooting. She said she wants to know why and also showed grace and understanding.
I'm hurt, but at the same time, as a parent, I still have to say they're kids. But did they make an adult decision or did they make a kid decision?
One other thing Peebles wants to know is the identity of the neighbor who drove her kid and the other victim really quickly to Centennial Hills Hospital. She said the doctor told her that saved her son's life. She wants to thank that neighbor. Reporting live across from Centennial Hills Hospital, Mike Allen, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
Mike, thank you. And Peebles also tells Fox 5 the 12-year-old neighbor who was also shot is recovering very well.